Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 Wii U review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at ZombiU, which has got to be the most controversial launch game of all of them for the Wii U, because there are so many people taking so many different stances on this game. Some are saying it's shit, some are saying it's great, some are saying it's decent, some are saying that some reviews are from biased PS3 fanboys, and that of course they're going to rate it down. And to those people I say, play the game and make your own mind up. Stop slating other people, because I mean a lot of people actually slated this game before the console even launched, and then now you'd expect that because they're reviewers. However, you then had a lot of people slating it who aren't reviewers, and a lot of people praising it who aren't reviewers. So you've got to think, okay then, have you actually played the game, or are you just jumping on a bandwagon of hating the game or loving the game? It's one of those things though. At the start, you've got your campaign mode, you've got your multiplayer mode, which is offline only, and I'm alone, so I can't exactly show it, but I'll try and mention it a bit later on. You've got leaderboards, which are, well, leaderboards. You've got Uplayer, which is log into Ubisoft service, and you'll earn like achievements and rewards and things. And I'll be honest, I signed into it for all of 5 minutes, and then I deleted the app from the Wii U because I just don't think I'd ever use it. I've had a Uplay account for about 3 years now, and I've logged into it twice. Just one of those things that I'm not really keen on. Options wise, you can go into your controller options, you can choose right-handed, left-handed, you can choose the Y-axis inversion, which only actually works on the aiming, not on like the aiming of the weapons and that. When you're using certain features on the gamepad, it then uninverts, and it's very annoying. You can choose your sensitivity, you can choose your rumble feature, you can have aim assist on, you can go into display and sound, so you can choose brightness, you can choose subtitle display, crosshair display, things like that. Bonus is literally only one bonus. It shows you as a zombie, it scans your face and then shows you, and you can choose different zombie types by flicking a switch. I'm going to be sticking to an earlier file, mainly because if you don't know anything about this game, you need to know this one thing immediately. You get one life per character, and that's it. So anyone who's got later files and all that, like myself, doesn't really want to be doing those later files while doing a review, in the off chance that I get bitten, die, and then have to start as a new character. Now, you don't start the whole game again, you just go back to your safe house and you carry on that story, which is weird because you're then a different character. I mean, you can go from a man to a woman, you can go from, you know, white to black, changing races and things like that, and the main character, who is the prepper, still treats you as if he's been dealing with you for the last 15-20 days or so. It's weird, to say the least. It's the most inconsistent storytelling I think I've ever heard, because it's almost as if these characters, I mean, you're playing as the lone survivor, and then you die and another lone survivor takes your place, and they happen to know everything that your last lone survivor knew, even though they weren't there, and they start with some basic equipment, and then you have to go find yourself from last time, who's now a zombie, to go and kill him to get your equipment back. And did I say it's fucking weird? Because it's fucking weird. It's just one of those things though, that it's, well, I suppose, again, to see it is weird, and that keeps happening throughout the vid. If it keeps happening, I mean, then I apologise. It's very annoying. I keep getting disconnected from the internet for some reason. It's not really important or anything though. Basically, you get messages from the dev team and from other people, and you get other people's zombies. I mean, this person here is not someone I've played as, it's someone from the Miiverse and that, so that's all the internet really does on the game. And I should be able to get some of their supplies. But gameplay wise, it is a survival horror game. A lot of people seem to think this is an action game, and that's probably why they're not really enjoying it. But actually, it's a survival horror game. And considering the survival horror genre is pretty much dead now, thanks to games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil turning to crap, and now we're getting a lot of action-y games instead from the Resident Evil series and that, it's a nice refreshing change to have an actual survival horror game. You get a chest, which is where I'm at now, and when I'm on the gamepad I basically have to put a load of stuff in the container and take stuff out of the container and put it into my bag, and you've got to item manage pretty much all the time. You're going to be looking at the gamepad more than you're going to be looking at anything else, quite frankly. It is the majority of the gameplay, I suppose, which is why it's annoying that you kind of can't see what I'm doing on it. You've got your map on there, and on your map you've got a little sonar button which then you can ping for a radar, and that then tells you where the enemies are, but you only get one glimpse of the enemy. So if you look away and you just hear the beep, then that's it. You're going to have to, you can scan again, but as far as the game's concerned, you now know where the enemy is, so it's not going to tell you. You've got all your item management on the screen, so you can change weapons and that, and that's one of the biggest faults I think I've got with the entire game, the fact that the weapon changing system is very finicky. There are quite a few times where I have died quite simply because I've not been able to swap to my gun fast enough, or the Molotov cocktail, or things like that. I've not been able to plant mines fast enough and set traps because I'm too busy fighting off an enemy with a bat, that if I look away to just randomly poke at the screen, I might actually get the wrong one, so that's why I have to look away, and by the time I look up, next thing I know I've been bit, that survivor's dead, and I've got to go back to the safe house, find myself, kill myself. It's just an annoying little thing. It also means I have to go through the annoying loading screens, which the game's probably got one of the worst loadings that I've had experienced in a long time, because you've just seen us there go through a loading screen. You would have thought that therefore it's loaded, but it hasn't, because I'm now having to stand and wait while the game loads what's behind this door, and you'd think it would just do a better job of loading management. It's a shame that it doesn't, because it does mean that you're quite often left standing around for a minute and doing nothing, and it's just boring. It kind of kills the tense atmosphere that it's going for, because it is a tense atmosphere. It is a proper survival horror. The fact that you only get one life is probably the best way to put it. It's a nice way to do it, because it does mean that you really do crap yourself when a zombie comes, because you feel like you have to fight for your life. At the same time though, as I say, it's weird with the storytelling, and there are definitely some moments of having only one life. It's just a bit annoying, because it kind of makes the game a bit easier. On Resident Evil 1, for example, if you, like an idiot, forgot to save and died 5 minutes later, then no problem, you only replayed 5 minutes. If you died 5 hours later, which, to be fair, seeing as the game can be beaten in under 3, if you died 50 minutes later, then it's a bit of a bother. On this, if you die, it doesn't set you back. All it means is you have to go back to where you were, kill yourself to get the weapons, but everything you've accomplished, you've already accomplished. So say your mission is to put a CCTV camera back up, you do that, but then you die on your way back. You don't, other than to go and get your items, you now no longer need to go to that area, because the camera is up and you continue on the story with your new survivor who knows everything. This is what I mean by the fact that some people are jumping on the bandwagon hating it, some people are loving it, some people are saying it's okay. I personally think it's okay. It's a good first attempt at a title. It's a proper survival horror game, which is something that we haven't had in a while. It plays fantastic in that respect. In the respect of the gameplay, it's not that great when you're having to constantly use the cricket bat, because you've seen us fighting a zombie earlier with a cricket bat, and it gets so mundane and so just boring having to constantly wheel. I mean, if you're in a room with 5 zombies and you've got no ammo left for a gun, and you're just constantly holding ZL, hitting ZR, holding ZL, hitting ZR, and it gets to you, it really does, it grates on you a bit. Graphically, the game is decent, but I've certainly seen better on the Wii U. For example, Tekken Tag Tournament looks fantastic compared to this. Musically, there isn't really any. It's just a tense atmosphere where you get some noises and then you get a bit of music during the loading screen. Which, as I'm coming up to another loading screen, I'm just going to do a quick cut so you don't have to go through what I have to go through every time I play the game. This, now that I've done the cut from the loading, this is something else that I find weird about the game. There's a piece of paper there on the floor that you can push and you get a message. But if you move away from the piece of paper, the voice stops. Now, when you go back, the voice starts again. It's like well, again, back to the weirdness, because it's a woman's voice. I'm playing as a man, so it's not that I was reading it out, if you get my meaning. It's the game was definitely reading it. It's almost as if that piece of paper is actually a dictaphone, and because I moved away, I can no longer hear the dictaphone, even though it's a piece of paper. That's another odd little thing, so it means you do have to stand around if you want to get the message. Gameplay-wise, though, it's... I've mentioned the grinding with the combat, because if you do run out of ammo, then the cricket bat can be tiresome. The gunplay is good, the grenades, like the Molotov cocktails and that, they handle well. The game is done in a Resident Evil style of it's one huge game. It's not a mission-based thing, so you don't... I mean, you start off in here and you have to set the safe zone up, and then you go to a supermarket, and then you go to Buckingham Palace, like you work your way to there eventually, and it doesn't take you there and that's it. Once you're there, you're there. As in, once I'm in Buckingham Palace, I don't stay there. You can move around and you can go back to your previous locations and that, just like you could on the likes of a Resident Evil, where you can go to the mansion, then go to the lab, and if you wanted to, go back to the mansion, and it's quite nice that it does it like that. I've mentioned that the gamepad is a large amount of the game. That's because basically you can pull your stylus out, you can flick it down and go into your backpack and arrange your items. You can view your gear, you can view your missions, you can view your ID, your skills, your map, your notebook, your survivor's guide. There's an upgrade table as well, where you can upgrade your weapons using the gamepad, because you can find upgrades around the place. There's a scanner where you can hold down the L button and it's like a torch, and then this is the thing that I meant, where the analog uninverts itself all of a sudden, because you're supposed to move yourself. But if you're not in a good position to move yourself, you can just use the analog. But the analog then uninverts for no reason whatsoever. I go again back to the word weird. The gamepad also manages your flashlight and that, because you've got a flashlight. It's technically got infinite battery life, but you've got to let it recharge, so it's like you've got a dynamo flashlight or something. And you're going to constantly be flicking that on and off, because if you keep it on, then it's going to run out, so when you're in a really dark place, you're going to be a bit screwed. It also attracts zombies, so it's a bad idea to keep it on all the time. But there's nothing much gameplay-wise that I can mention that I haven't already mentioned, and there's nothing much else I can really say about the game. It's a decent launch title. It's not worth buying a console for. I think there's a lot of people who wanted this to be more than what it is, and they're fighting tooth and nail to say that it is, but I honestly reckon that when ZombiU 2 comes out in 3 years' time, they'll have done huge improvements, and all the reviewers will basically need to see is, play the first game, then play this one, now see why we rated the first game as low as we did. Because it's just unpolished as a title. It's got problems. It's still a decent game. I've still thoroughly enjoyed playing it, and a lot of people will do. The fact that it's a survival horror game alone is one of the big reasons to buy it if you're a fan of the genre, because they never come out. But I honestly think that in a couple of years' time, people will look back and they'll think, I can't believe I fought over that game being so amazing. Yeah, it's a bit crap compared to the sequel. And that's pretty much all I can say. But anyway, as I say, that's pretty much all I can say about the main game, the campaign and that. I have had to load the multiplayer even though I'm by myself, just to mention it. The whole point is it's kind of like a squad-based game. If you're the player on the screen, you choose your character, you play with a pro controller, like you choose his setup and that, so his weapon setup. And then the guy on the gamepad has different zombies that he can send at you, and you've just got to survive. There's 3 different modes in all. I'll probably get killed because I'm now trying to read the exact differences out. You've got Assault, which, as a survivor, you've got to capture the flags by remaining within the zone and keep the infected out. As the king of the zombies, you have to capture the flags by sending the units to attack them. Killing Box, it's a combat-only mode. As a survivor, you've got to kill as many infected as you can. As the king of the zombies, you've got to kill the survivor while losing as few infected as possible. And survival mode can only actually be accessed by unlocking the last of them, a Uplay reward. As a survivor, you've got to survive as long as you can. As the king of the zombies, you've got to kill the survivor as quick as you can. They're decent. The multiplayer modes overall are decent. people are complaining that they're not online. I personally don't really see how this would work that well online, because I think you've got to have the banter there of trying to be able to put people off with, like, saying, I wouldn't go over there if I were you, you know, like the usual arsehole thing that you do as a mate. It's the type of thing that all these sorts of games, you kind of have to do it. You've got to try and psych the opponent out, and I think that always works better locally. Obviously, it is just a 2-player game. It's not a 4-player or anything like that, so you can't have split screen with 4 people against the one person on the pad. It is just one-on-one. They're a nice little distraction. They're nothing overly great. If I'm honest, they probably would have been better off not doing any of this and just instead focusing on fixing the one player a bit, you know, like doing a better story than what they've done, and, you know, focusing on, instead of having the survivors, have it just so that you have to save frequently, so that way if you lose out as a, you know, when you die, then you lose out on actually progressing through the game. It's probably the best way to put it, because it does kind of make the game a little easier when, if you die, what does it matter? You've lost a few items, you can go and kill them if you want to, but everything else that you've done's already still been accomplished. So it would have been nicer for them to focus more on that than add these in. Having said that, they are a nice little distraction. There's something that you'll probably have a bit of fun with for a couple of days and then get sick of them. That's pretty much your standard tacked on multiplayer mode, really. So, overall, it's a good, solid title. It's a decent launch game. It's something that's definitely worth a look if you haven't already got it. It's something that you'll probably be able to enjoy and beat it, but is it up there with your classic titles? Is it up there with your God of Wars, your Gears of Wars, your Zeldas, you know, any of the big name games? No, I don't think it is just yet, but at the end of the day, Ubisoft have done this before with titles. Look at Assassin's Creed 1. Loads of people slated it. Well, not so much slated it, but they gave it, you know, 7s and that, and they said it's a decent title, but it needs work. So what did they do? They went back, they took the feedback on, they gave the sequels work, and it's now one of the most popular franchises. I would be quite happy if Ubisoft looked at the negative feedback for this, turned around, and did give us ZombiU 2, as I say, with much improved gameplay, and then made it a decent franchise. It's something to look forward to in the future. As it stands though now, considering how much they're charging for it to download on the Wii Shop, and considering how much a lot of places are selling it for, I definitely don't think it's worth full price. I think it's one of those that if you can pick it up for maybe 30 quid or less, you should have plenty of fun with it. If you're paying above that, you're probably going to feel a little bit ripped off, because it's not as polished as it should be. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.